took a big swing.
Yeah, let's go. So if you want something big, you gotta swing fast, swing hard and commit. You might miss 10 times, but when you win, just make sure that you get all of it, okay? People at the top took risks. Investing and testing is all that they did. It's not complicated, it just takes grit. So never give up, take a swing at it.
And big dreams lead to big things, and big swings lead to big rings. Championships or the big screen, anyone who did anything took a big swing. And big dreams lead to big things, and big swings lead to big rings. Championships or the big screen, anyone who did anything took a big swing.
Watch me.
I'ma get it how I wanna get it, you don't get it. I can do anything, I don't got a limit. I'ma make my mind up, I'm committed. It might take some time, might take a minute. I won't give up, I don't give in a shit. I do what I want when I wanna do it. Call it a power or call it a gift. I call it persistence or driving some wit. I ain't no minute man. Good things take time when I'm in it, man. Give me some time and I'm with a fan. Now I'm gone too far from the beginning, man. I can teach you, but you gotta listen. I got lessons on lessons to give them. Think the masters are open and wishing and thinking and driven and cutting the ribbons.
And they know they don't want it more than me. I work hard, they call it a disease. I work hard so I can go be free. But I don't work for anyone but me.
But it didn't start like that. I was 9 to 5, didn't feel right. Had to get in touch with myself, get my mind back, to figure out what I want in this life bad. And I don't regret it, failed a lot, but I learned my lessons. Got new moves, new things, new weapons, and now I finally got direction.
We ain't got no time to be complacent. You only got one life to go make a statement. Everything you want, it'll all be waiting. So put your mind to it and you can become greatness. So don't quit, don't stop, push through it. You got dreams, one life, go do it. Make moves, improve, keep doing. A new life, new you can choose it.
Watch me.
Gotta really wanna catch hands, no face off. Everybody know I got plans to take off. Everybody know I got bands, no J's on. I'ma do life like me, no days off. I don't really care what you think about me. Hate filling minds up like a disease. Filling me with fight, some life energy. Knowing that I'm doing something right. If you hating, I just try to keep my mind real vacant. I took all my time in the basement. I spent half my life impatient. It was worth all the time and patience. Get it? The way I said it. Never mind, I don't have time, forget it. You can read all my rhymes on Reddit. They need a feed and damn it, I fed it. I got my eyes on the prize. I tell truth, don't hear no lies. I don't take, I give and guide. I don't break, I live and fight. On the chase, I got the sight. Vision goals, I set them right. Working through the lonely nights. Worth it on the other side. If you try to make it fast, it won't last. Take a stab, make it bad. Face a fast, but still lag. Don't give up, don't look back. You got this, no stopping, no quitting, no stalling, no options. You're running, follow your dreams and find your calling.
We ain't got no time to be complacent. You only got one life to go make a statement. Everything you want, it'll all be waiting. So put your mind to it and you can become greatness. So don't quit, don't stop, push through it. You got dreams, one life, go do it. Make moves, improve, keep doing. A new life, new you can choose it.
Watch me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Block Sauce, your weekly web show that serves up the juiciest discussions in the world of Web3 gaming. Web3 culture, not just gaming. I'm your host, Green FT Ambassador Jane Karen, and today we've got an incredible panel of guests lined up for you, so grab your controllers, crack open a Mountain Dew, and prepare to get your game on. Hey there, sauce enthusiasts! It's time to bring the heat with another electrifying episode of The Block Sauce. I'm thrilled to introduce our panel. We got Shay, Jorge, and standing in for Sinjin, we have a dub on the show for a while now. So, how you guys doing today?
Yo. I'm excited for today's show. We got a pretty cool lineup of things that we're going to be speaking about. Although I don't think we're going to follow that. I think we're going to bring our own sauce. We're going to get real spicy. We're going to break it down. We want what the listeners want. We know what they want to talk about. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Heck yeah. How about the rest of you guys?
Damn, I'm on a vibe now. My cup of coffee's full. I need it too because we're going into a heavy weekend full of gaming. It's like I got 3 playtests tomorrow starting at like 5 a.m. my time, then Saturday, Sunday, and then already looking at like August 4th through 7th, there's like 5 others too. So it's there's just a lot going on.
At this point, just chill it, bro. What games is it tomorrow you're playing?
I don't even freaking remember. Like I know.
Metalcore?
For this weekend, Metalcore and the Bornless. There's also tournaments on Rainy with them recently launching on Epic, and then I'm doing an exclusive holders only playtest. There's still token gating in this world of society. The upcoming FPS-based MMO, Metaverse, Grand AAA. It's a shill. It's a thing. Hopefully it's not a rug pull game. I'm looking forward to waking up early and testing it out.
What's the name? Because you just said a lot of words. Oh, that is the name.
XOCIETY. It's weird.
I haven't even heard of it.
It's on
freaking. It's
Twitter.
from a.
It's on what, Shay?
I'm pulling pocket pics.
It's on Twitter because it starts with X.
Oh.
Whoever made that game, they need to hire a marketing manager. And if they need a marketing manager, hit me up because I will make sure that everybody knows what the hell game you got going on. Because my boy over here, Dub, doesn't even know what the hell he's saying right now.
Hey, you don't know their marketing strategy. There's strategies going on here. Some people are trying to build organic, small communities that are degens. It's really weird. They are doing it, but it does work for some.
Hey, Dub, I don't care how much you tell me that. At the end of the day, when it comes down to numbers, the amount of numbers you need of users to be on the gaming platform, on your game, is ridiculous to be profitable. So that little small approach isn't always, it just doesn't.
Oh, man, you gotta up your marketing game because there's this thing called fully on-chain games where even if there is only 5 players in it, if they're all spending $1 million and willing to do so and doing it every weekend, it can exist and it does work.
You are completely right about that. We just haven't found 5 players with $1 million yet. You're completely right.
Especially not $1 million every weekend. Gosh.
Hey, but it is a thing, and like there can be these micro niche communities that exist in a closed loop ecosystem, and on-chain gaming, fully on-chain gaming, empowers that and enables it.
Well, speaking of fully on-chain gaming, it sounds like Google is looking at supporting the ecosystem pretty well. Google Cloud is plotting more Web3 focused products, and it's starting to try and offer more of its compute packages towards us. For those that aren't aware, both Microsoft and Google have their own cloud Web3 platforms. You've got Azure, I think it was like Web3 Azure or Azure 3, something like that from Microsoft. And then you got Google Cloud Web3. Such a unique name. Gotta love it. But there was a recent interview with Blockworks, and the head of Google Cloud Web3 said that they're planning to continue building out the services and that they want to expand and continue to offer on-chain data sets such as Ethereum and BigQuery through Google's serverless data warehouse. I think that's pretty big news in this space.
Bullish, absolutely.
Bullish.
I mean, a powerhouse like that's in technology, like a powerhouse technology company like Google, like to not be in Web3, like kind of like is like almost a little funny to say, right?
Mhm.
But I think like again, it takes time to understand what we were doing and who we are. I think we are finally understanding what we're doing in blockchain, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it took many years for us to be able to explain everything about what blockchain technology could do with games. And so it's no surprise here that why Google's coming into this space. Now, what's really cool is the money that's behind this, right? With Google really kind of coming in and supporting, being in a bear market, the offerings that they have. I think there's credits up to like $200,000 or something like that.
Oh.
It's a pretty substantial amount of cash that they're putting up, and I think they're even working with certain chains to do grants with them, like where I think Google's giving like $1 million or something in grants to each chain. It was something wild like that I read. And so again, it's just bullish news in a bear market. I think again, using the Google name finally gives us more credibility to what's being happening in the space.
And they oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just super weird because you don't see like a bunch of Google fans being like, Google's pro NFTs. I hate Google now. Let's go to Yahoo. Like it's such a weird paradigm with this market because it is it's a verification for us because it's like, hey,
Mhm.
this big player is in, but at the same time, they literally have zero community that's like freaking out over it. It's only the gamer communities. I guess brands too. Like we were talking about Neopets last week, right? And like,
Mhm.
so it's really weird that there's these big brands that when we work with them, we get verification, but they don't have a direct community to even complain about it in the first place either.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really interesting dynamic because I feel like, yeah, does Google even have a community where like it's just such a big part of our lives? I feel like we all use it
Yep.
in some way or another, and it's inevitable. And it's interesting because I think one of their goals that they've stated is that they want to be like a go-to product and resource for developers and
Mhm.
like Web3 industry firms. And Google is such a big part of my tech stack, my everyday like Web 2 tech stack with work and personal. Like I use Google Calendar, I use G Suite, like Google Meets, all this. So it'll be interesting, like what can they develop that could become part of our Web3 tech stack? I think right now, I think they're targeting more developers. I know that
Yeah.
they launched like their blockchain nodes and stuff like that. So they are targeting like smart contract developers and Web3 developers. It'll be interesting to see if they develop anything that like touches the consumer side. And I definitely think like their Web3 startup program is really interesting. I think it's a really exciting time to be an entrepreneur in Web3 and to be a founder in Web3. Because you can get grants like Jorge was saying, up to 200,000 from big companies like Google, which is such a big step forward if you're part of that program and an organization like Google shows like faith in your startup. But overall, I think it's really I think I read that Google wants to focus on like finance, gaming, and AI. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in gaming. And I think overall, whatever they do, if they do it well, will just lead to overall more mass adoption for our space. So I'm really excited to see how it plays out.
Well, on the AI note, they definitely need to invest some more because Bard is not competitive. I don't know of anybody using or talking about Bard unless they're bashing on it because of how bad it is. But that aside, they did recently, if I remember correctly, even loosen the Web3 restrictions for their app stores. So now, like the Web3 mobile apps have more leeway than they did previously. It really feels like Google is kind of like the big friendly giant, right? Out of all the companies that we're seeing right now, they're like, hey, them and Epic actually, they're both like, hey, yeah, open door, come on, bring it on in. While the other all of their competitors are kind of like, yeah, no, get that out of here. So I'm not normally a Google stan, but when it comes to the Web3 side of things, I think they're kind of converting me a little bit. It's like, oh, Google, you guys just forward thinking, innovation, let's go.
they have so much money that they're not scared to experiment, because if they do have to deal with litigation or like the law at any point, they're just such a big giant that it doesn't really matter. So
Yeah, and I think
True.
the biggest thing this isn't news, right? Like it's not new news, right? Because I mean, Google's been in the space for quite some time, and investing, especially in AI and all the stuff like in Web3. It's more of like, hey, they're expanding their services. But if you look at again like the trajectory of like a lot of the stuff, like the Apple Store allowing the NFT, some of these NFT games, Google Play just releasing some of the Web3 games being allowed. Mass adoption of like companies is slowly but surely coming, and we're seeing it, right? And I think this is just like the added to everything else that's coming. It's crazy that we're in a bear market still, like for gaming. I mean, it's hard. It's like hard to say if it's a bear market, but like it's hard to say that like there's so much shit, awesome shit happening in our space that like I don't even think we're in a bear market. Like people always say, "Oh my god," but like this is the part where we have to differentiate gaming and the crypto market. Like we have to separate from them. This is where we have to go away from Web3 gaming and just be gaming, because it's sad that we're all like, oh, it's a bear market, VC funding is low. Like, who gives a shit? I don't know who cares about it, right? Like it doesn't matter to us. Like gaming is still prospering, and Web3 is prospering.
I personally think we've been out of like a full-fledged bear market for a while. I mean, like Bitcoin's at 30K, ETH's basically at 2K, with like Bitcoin's kind of like local lows being at like 15K or whatever it is. Like I feel like we have already slowly started to transition into a bull market, and it's really interesting. I think we're still a bit of ways out, but it's going to happen like so fast, and it's going to be crazy when it happens, and so saturated, and there's going to be so much noise and so much is going to be going on. So this is a really interesting time to like just be a builder and do all of the things that we're doing right now.
Yeah, and even outside of the technology, we're starting to see, gamers actually pick up on the technology too. So maybe we'll finally start to see a shift over there. In that vein, we have Dota 2 player Eric Tofu Ingel. He's a professional player that thinks that Web3 could be good for gamers. So we're starting to see these pro players speak up. I know Luminosity has, they're working with EVIO. We've seen TSM, they're launching their Blitz platform in Web3. So I think this is also a good thing. So I think even gaming is eventually going to follow these tech giants and, kind of accept the reality that this is here. It's not going away. There's clear benefits, on both sides of the same coin. What are your guys' thoughts on that one?
Yeah, again, it's the gamers are saying it, right? Which is important, right? I think I think if the gamers are saying it, like, hey, like we want to see what the possibility is, people are starting to understand once again what Web3 gaming is and how blockchain technology can really help esports and all that stuff, and gamers in many facets, especially like with payment systems and whatnot. At the end of the day, we know that Valve is completely like, hey, we ain't coming into the space, right? And so like, okay, we understand that, but like if the audience is starting to understand what's happening, maybe the audience will help again stir up the conversation of like, what is going on over there? Like, what are they doing? And does that make sense for us? Like, why aren't we exploring it even further, right? So I think it's good. It's good to hear like positivity now, right? It's usually negativity in news, right? Especially with everything that we do. But I think it's because we're changing the language a lot. Like a lot of people are now speaking just gaming language, that now other gamers are being able to understand us. And I think we've said this from show one to this show is like, if we don't change the language, we will never be successful. And I think a lot of it has changed, that people are now being more receptive to it.
I'd pick up a mic and drop it for you, Jorge, but it's attached to a mic stand. So it is what it is. But in that note, you mentioned Steam, and they're not doing it. The reason Steam, in my opinion at least, is not following suit yet is the very reason we want to push Web3. Everybody's like, well, Epic's doing it, why won't Steam? Well, Epic doesn't have their own marketplace. Think about how much Web3 and NFTs would disrupt the Steam market if people could go off platform to purchase all their assets and do their trading and stuff like that. So I believe that if this really does take off, we do get mainstream traction. I believe you're correct. The players are going to start to ask for it. There's going to be more demand, and Steam's hand could potentially be forced, but I don't see them opening it up to Web3. What I foresee is them actually expanding their native market into Web3 so they can keep it in house. I think that would be the route that Steam would take just because of the business standpoint.
Those plans are already set too.
And there's plenty of them. There's plenty of Web3 launcher / like games that Steam would buy in a minute. And I'm sure a lot of these guys are probably wanting to get bought out. And so, yeah.
I mean, Elixir, GameStop, they partnered up. They're launching their own Web3 native launcher called Player, and GameStop's got a brand recognition. Gamers know them. A lot of gamers love them. I'm not going to say all gamers because let's be honest, GameStop's been hit or miss in recent years. But I think if there was one launcher Steam would probably go after, it's that one, just because, again, brand recognition in the name.
It's super funny. The market as a whole has kind of like had a stutter step, and I feel like everyone. Because I go back to GDC 2 years ago, and I got the privilege of being in conversations with these big names in the space, and to hear their private plans that were not public because everyone hates crypto, everyone hates NFTs, and all of this, and like they thought that entire like market mentality would shift and change because people would continue to make money. Everyone would be like, we're all profitable. WAGMI was a thing, and this crap. And then it didn't happen. Then a lot of like shakeups with the market, FTX, all this kind of thing, mass consumer sentiment issues. And everyone's like had to like delay their plans or whatever, but it's still there. And I think Steam is like, they have a very good business model. And I know when good business models are set, no one wants to change a thing with margins, with that or whatever, and until their hand gets forced, and it's like then all of a sudden the AVAX Steam subnet is popped up, and whatever their plan is, they have it, those cards are ready to play. It's just market sentiment as a whole once again, which is just it's wild.
I agree, but I'm curious to know what Shay's thoughts are.
Absolutely. I mean, on the topic of just like more pro gamers kind of advocating for Web3 in like more subtle and direct ways is really interesting. I really live by this phrase. I think content creators are market makers in all industries. I think when you look at just like Web3 and NFTs in general as a whole, you look at communities and projects like Pudgy Penguins, Azuki, etc. If you look on your timeline, I'm sure you guys have seen like some very active community members who advocate and are attached to that project. And I don't think that those projects would be as successful as they are, like would if those content creators and passionate like people weren't attached to it. And same like with Web3 gaming. I think that content creators in this space like hold a lot of weight. And so I think the like gamers and content creators in Web 2 are starting to realize that. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see just how this plays out, because I feel like it's like a missed opportunity. Like if you come into Web3 gaming right now as a content creator and you already have a big like following from Web 2, you have such an incredible opportunity to just be like a really big fish in this small pond and build like a really strong foundation for your Web3 content creation career. And I think like we're definitely going to start seeing like esports and like just these different sort of verticals and slices of gaming embracing Web3 gaming more. So I think overall, like all of this is really positive.
I mean, I got nothing. It's agreement. Nothing but agreement there.
They started a while ago too. Like I was looking at Fnatic and their like NFT Web3 and what they've done, and that was started back in April of 2022. And they're still supporting it and everything. So it's like it's really interesting how many of these esports organizations have already launched programs and are just like it's under the table and it's like this thing they're not promoting, but they're still running it and still figuring it out.
I think the biggest thing here is that like people don't realize that how many of these big, large corporations, businesses, even any type of really sized businesses, is are paying attention to technology, right? Like, I come from the banking space, right? I spent 17 years there. And this is, when Bitcoin 2016, 2017, banks were already talking about cryptocurrency and what is it going to do, what to look out for. Like, it was on their radar. Now, were they neglecting it? Yes, of course they were neglecting it. I mean, we thought it was a scam, really, fake internet money, right? I mean, we laughed about it, right? But even though we laughed about it, we still had our eyes on it, and we wanted to know what exactly it was doing. And you look at like gaming, right? Like, these organizations are seeing it and watching it, right? Because they need to be on top of the latest trends, of the latest technology, and all this stuff. At the end of the day, it's almost a trend, and it's also technology. It's like both in one. And so they need to stay on top of what's happening. And so I think, like, it's just not public a lot of the times, because R&D is never really that much part public, right? Like, it's not like something you go out and publicly say, hey, yeah, we're watching crypto, we're watching, this blockchain stuff, until it's like, hey, we're ready to build on it, let's make a public statement about it. And so I think, like, right now, we see it, that it's coming to public. It's the same idea or concept of a lot of these Web2 game studios that are building in like stealth in Web3, because they're not ready to make it public, because it's not just really like a practice, right? It's not like it's a Web2 practice that's not really done like this. It's only Web3 like that we kind of like literally say everything that we do on a daily basis. We literally post every single day on Twitter, like, what my schedule is. Like, that doesn't happen in Web2, right? Like,
proof of gym, GM, proof of gym, and
yeah, like, it's wild. So, I think it's just like one of those things, like, some practices that are not really done, but people are doing it, like making sure they're on top of what's happening right now.
Totally. I think something that's going to be a huge catalyst. Well, like, everybody knows that crypto is going to have another bull run again, but you will hear people, question, will NFTs and Web3 have another bull run? Because it just hasn't been around long enough. It hasn't had enough cycles for us to like 100% say that, even though we know it will, because NFTs and crypto, I think, are very parallel and follow like the same trends and same cycles. But I think once we're in a bull run again, and it is like confirmed and seen and just live, like NFTs have another bull run, I think that's going to be a huge catalyst for a lot of these. I mean, a lot of these big brands have already played in the space and entered, like MasterCard, like whatever. Like Gucci did the thing with Yuga. I mean, like, there's so many big brands that have already played in Web3 and have either succeeded and stayed, or like failed and they executed incorrectly, and like they're just on the sidelines now, like waiting to try again. But I think like an NFT bull run is going to be like a huge catalyst for a lot of this like stigma and everything going away. So it'll be exciting.
I agree with you on that. And I think the biggest issue with the execution from these big companies is they're not working with Web3 native folks. They're hiring like IT people like me. Like I actually made a Twitter post the other day, like, if I wanted to work as an IT person in Web3, what do I need to learn? And people dropped topics that I'm like, I have never even heard of that. I've been working as an IT tech across different fields in IT security. Oh no.
IT breaking things like normal.
Did we go off air?
I've been dealing with these guys for too long.
Oh, you guys could hear me. The stream couldn't. Yeah, I literally broke everything.
IT rugging themselves today.
Can we hire a good IT guy? If anybody's watching this show and you're technologically savvy to run Restream, VDO, OBS, whatever it is, please inquire within. Drop a comment, tag the person. We're looking
Hey.
for a new host.
Hey, look now, I was doing fine. I was doing absolutely fine until I touched one little button. And you know what? It's kind of like programmers. One little misspelling and the whole program falls apart.
No. You started gloating about all the IT stuff, and then Karma came and just level set you real quick.
The timing was
And
not perfect.
I have been humbled.
Right. I guess to catch up on the topic, I mean, brands have been entering in this space.
Yeah.
Right. And what's the other thing for me is last year when they're making plans entering the space, there was another big topic on top of Web3 gaming that was like convoluting the message and people were getting distracted. And that was the metaverse and being in the metaverse and being this thing. And it's also a game. And that, and you know, like it wasn't well defined. And I think now that has ran its course in a way, and it's clear like where people are going with it, the brands are less likely to enter and say like, oh, I want to go do a metaverse. Like the company I was working for previously, before I even came into this, actually did a Web3 plan, and it was all around a metaverse experience and thing, and it could have been more of a gaming thing, and like that's what's going on now. So it's growth, and it's weird, and it's I'm glad that it's not as metaverse heavy this year compared to last.
I just want to see these big companies actually work with Web3 native people, whether, it be buying out studios, partnering with studios, working with Web3 native IT people. I feel like that is going to be the play moving forward. If you just rely on people that are only familiar with Web 2, their only experience is Web 2, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. And a good example of that is actually TSM. They are a huge esports org. People know the name around the world. They had their own esports platform. Now they're moving it to Avalanche. They're working with Avalanche to bring their platform into Web3. And that's the way it should be. You should be working with Web3 native people to get your game plan together, find out what all you need to do, learn about smart contracts and, solidity. That word is so hard for me, but you guys know what I'm saying. So I think that they're onto something. I hope more people follow suit. Like the whole Neopet situation, for example. I'm going to bring that up very briefly. I'm not going to make a whole topic out of it, but I'm willing to bet that if they had worked with Web3 native people from the beginning, they may have been able to go a different route. But because they kind of stuck with their Web 2 audience and their Web 2 people, I'm pretty sure that's kind of what led them to be like, you know what, this isn't working. Let's go back to Web 2.
And they might not be out. Maybe they're building in stealth, and we will see them next year come out and said, hey, guess what? We were building Web3 the whole time. Surprise.
There's one critical piece to the TSM play as well that I think is unique with this, that is why it's going to be successful, is actually the Blitz app itself and making that tokenized in Web3, because that's a tool that gamers need and use in their everyday to flex today. And if they're going to jump through the hoops to continue to use it, and that hoop is only going to be like checking a box right now. It's not going to be a crazy hoop, right? Because it's all going to be custodial. It's all going to be the way we've designed it, because, like it's a true like Web3 product for gamers that's been built and taken from like Web3 learnings of failures and everything. So like, I'm really excited to see like how much that converts. And sorry, just mentioning it made me think about all that and everything there. I should have wore my AVAX esports Andretti jersey today.
Oh boy, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, dude, she's like, yo, is it me or is it Dub like on a shill fest today? Like shilling games, chains.
All of it.
Are you sponsored? Can you please let us know if you're sponsored next time?
I'm not. I am Dub.
I am
head
Dub.
of partnerships at Soulbound. Let's go play games.
Well, that's actually a good segue into the next one, which is Ultra, a Web3 startup, is also launching their own esports platform. Now, look, I'm not going to pretend to be knowledgeable on this one. You know, at this point, I've seen so many Web3 esports platforms that I'm just kind of jaded, I guess. I know that Fractal tried it. We got Blue Mint. Brad, what was that other one?
Community gaming.
Yeah, community gaming. Thank you. Like the problem I have when it comes to esports and Web3 is it feels like people are trying to force it. I grew up with video games and I grew up with esports. Like it evolved during my time in gaming, and you don't build for esports. Esports is something that occurs naturally from the community because they want it. And I feel like these platforms that are like, we're gonna build a platform and people are just gonna use it and we're gonna be the esports platforms, they're very misguided. Like I think TSM probably has the best shot in Web3 because they already have a community. They already had the existing esports platform. They've got the audience and users for it. So I think it's going to translate naturally.
I would rebuttal that with saying that EVIO has experienced that and kind of
Luminosity,
like
though.
led.
Remember, they've got Luminosity, so they're also pulling from the Web2 esports scene and community they already had.
Totally, but they now have like a year plus history and multiple organizations running esports tournaments, and the company as a whole had to pivot their focus into supporting esports and scrap previous roadmap plans for other things and all of that, and like to support fair esports and this growth and whatnot. And I think it's interesting that it came from the community. It didn't come from EVIO pushing for this. It was just all of a sudden Fractal popped up, Blue Mint popped up, and communities grabbed on and used it. And they've now been using it for a year plus. And there's so much history there that even EVIO has a hard time going back and being like, well, how do we reward the people who have participated in every tournament? Because there's so damn many of them that have already happened. You know, so it is there in my mind.
But do you think another platform is going to find success?
If it's easier than the others, if it's unique, if it has something other than the others, if it's Gray Mint or, you know, communitytournament.com, like, then no, it's not.
Hopefully they're looking at the past failures and learning from them. I think I read that they're like marketing themselves as like an amateur gamer like marketplace. So that's going to be interesting to see like what they're segmenting and like their targeting and their strategy will be like. But I mean, I think those are really interesting takes. I think what is going to be the catalyst for it organically happening is just my earlier take. Like content creators are market makers. And I think Web2, like web gaming, esports content creators that have followings and fans, once those content creators start to get into the space and adopt platforms like that, like naturally their fans and their followers will be intrigued by it. So I think it'll be interesting to see how I wonder what this platform strategy is in terms of working with content creators, both Web 2 and Web 3.
Or hey, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just we're early, right? And I think like it goes back to all of this, right? Like it's just an understanding of how this is all going to work and how it makes sense. I don't think we've gotten yet like the actual like recipe for it, and I think we're like still kind of like all of us are kind of like brainstorming how this will like play out. I think there's some great use cases already in the sense that like we're understanding more of it. Like you guys mentioned Luminosity and EVIO, right? Like I think that's a phenomenal use case, really. I just think, again, EVIO wasn't really like fully built out for that total experience, right? Like, because it was just so early. And so because the games are so early, I just think it's hard to really find that thing. Now, what I do think is like, let's go back to like a Web 2 game that we would say like, can blockchain technology come over like CSG Go, right? Like imagine if CSG Go can just create that marketplace on blockchain, keep the game in the Web 2 space, but the blockchain itself be fueling the marketplace. Therefore, like I think there's going to be a use case for like everything we're talking about. But like, again, just still too early. I think like we'll figure it out as time comes.
UI
Or one-
UX, I think, will, like as Dub was saying, I think like having a lower barrier to entry in terms of actually using this technology is going to be huge, and it'll be interesting to see if we see like a more learn to earn movement. If like as people get intrigued, if they do want to learn about Web3, learn about setting up a MetaMask, like whatever it is, like if these platforms and sort of these content, like these thought leaders can reward some of these intrigued people, I think is something that I would sort of like to see more of in the industry as a whole.
I completely. Oh, go ahead.
I wonder how much money, just when Jorge was mentioning CSGO again, like and going on chain, I wonder how much grants and offers their team has turned down to do this. Like, I wonder how many times Polygon's hit them up, IMX has hit them up, AVAX has hit them up. Like, I wonder if that number would be such a cool number to see. Like, oh yeah, we've turned down 100 million to whatever, like it's just not worth it to them.
I believe it or not, I actually almost had a Blizzard rep on the block sauce until they found out it was Web3 and they noped out. They're like, no, we're done. We're out. And I think that's kind of ironic since they're one of the big companies whose ecosystem kind of mimics what we're building in Web3. It's enclosed, so everything stays within their own ecosystem, but they've got interoperability across games. If you buy an asset in one game, you get assets in others. They've got their own token for World of Warcraft, and the price fluctuates with, the demand and supply.
Blizzard is Hearthstone as well too, right?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because it's the most mimicked and copied game in Web3, yet their entire team like despises Web3. So you'd think they'd have like an army of lawyers going out and shutting these things down, but they're playing the like ignorant like kid or bully or whatever. That's just like, nah, like I hate these guys and don't even mention them and I don't even want to talk about it. Like, what a wild world we live in.
Hang on, guys. I got a new goal. I'm gonna strive to be the top Hearthstone creator so I can turn around and demand Blizzard start implementing Web3. It seems like if you make it to the top 1%, they listen to you a bit more. So maybe.
And this is a good segue to our next topic.
Content creator relations and oh my god, this is gonna be an episode. Content creator relations with companies. Obviously, there's some recent drama, and
I got a simple way to cut it. As soon as a company is paying a content creator to create financially suggestive content, go buy this and you might make $10 in this play test, or buy this token for 100x. That's where the line should be drawn, and that's where it gets unethical, and that's where problems like the Jake and Gala example arise.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the issue again, and I think I harp on this all the time with even developers, is business IQ, business sense, ways to do business, right? And it's unfortunately in the sense that like it's a lot of young blood in Web3, right? Like, and that business experience or sense of like doing business, understanding how to do business, it doesn't really get taught, like unless you go, do real life things like in business, right? It's like the only few things that you do in real life is transactions where you're like maybe at a grocery store, you give money, you buy, cool, like you understand that, but you don't really understand that till you actually do business with somebody from business to business standpoint. And I look at like the case with Jake and everything that's happening. Again, I think it's a lack of business understanding, especially on Jake's end, to realize what he had as that, what kind of how to conduct or transact on a business, and then how to receive, and then like, hey, like feedback and all that whatsoever. Because at the end of the day, like he had they both have like a product to say, right? Like they were both delivering a product in the sense, but like again, at the end of the day, it was Jake was the one that's getting contracted to do the end of the job. And so I think again, it just comes down to lack of business understanding. And I say that because again, a lot of my success in this space has been advising, right? Understand, like helping a lot of these business owners understand business plans, market strategies, come to market, like how to work with others. And I think again, it just like same thing with the content creators. I think we just got into it so quickly that we like the reason in Web2 it's more successful is because they have business managers, right? Like they have organizations that they're using to do all that, right? Yes, there's here some, like, I think there was some recent news between some of them that there was issues with. Grant, there's going to be some of that, but not like the way that this was handled. And it's, again, like Jake says, he has an agent. If that agent, like, somebody ever puts that guy's name out, the guy won't have a job in Web3, because there's no way, like, or Web2, whatever, like, there's no way that guy was advising Jake the correct way. So again, it's just basics before we even get into the Jake situation, because the whole Jake situation, I mean, that's like somebody stealing ice cream from a kid, and then the kid realized, hey, I don't have ice cream. Oh my God, let me cry about it. And like, hopefully I cry enough, it'll come back, but never comes back. Instead, I publicly do all this, and now I ruined my reputation for the rest of my life because I just acted like a fool on the internet.
Look, I'm not gonna drag Jake. I had a lot of respect for him. Note the pretense. The thing is, I've worked with developers in Web 2. I have done contracted work. I have worked with multiple studios, and usually they give me a sheet up front. Talk about this. These are what we want you to talk about. Don't mention this, that, XYZ. Okay, cool. You know, whatever. Unfortunately, that's how it works. If I'm being paid, it's just like my 9 to 5. Whenever I go into work every day, my boss tells me what I have to do, and I do it. And based on everything that was leaked and shown, he was given some guidelines, and he just simply didn't want to follow them. And he tried to extract as much value as possible before, take it off. And when he didn't get his way, like you said, he kind of threw a fit. And I'm hoping other companies don't look at this and be like, okay, now we have to be hesitant with all content creators because they might freak out on us like this, right? That's my concern as a fellow content creators. I hope that other brands will continue working with us, just because, I've already got my own reputation. I have no affiliation or association with Jake and his company. And that's the separation I hope these companies can make. Like, he is a big creator in this space. Everybody saw what went down. And I think that has a potential to affect everybody that makes content in here.
Yes and no. I mean, like, I think, like, yes, it has an effect, but like, I think it might be a good effect, in the sense that, like, this is a part where you want to make sure you do your DD on what content creator you want to work with, right? I don't know before Gala, like if Jake was really like that, like, name or like that conversation you could have had. Like, there's a list right now of content creators that are just great content creators, and also real human beings that you've experienced, right? Like, I've hung out with all of you guys, right? Like, in real life, in the sense of, like, we've been to San Francisco. I've been with YP. I've been with Spike. I've been with Bryson. I've been with all these guys, right?
We went thrifting together.
Yeah. You could.
It was so much fun.
And you genuinely know, like, what kind of person you're going to get from meeting somebody in person, right? And, like, by the content, like, one of the things I saw, like, a while ago was, like, show me your resume. And it's like, your resume is your social media as well, right? Like, look at your Twitter and what you post about and what you do, like, what kind of person you really are, because that's what you're posting on there. And so when I look at it again, like, I don't know, Jake to me was, again, never really like it's not to say like it was somebody that I trusted. It was just, again, that wasn't a name that came to my mind before this. Now, even more now, it's like, hey man, like, you were getting paid, bro. You were getting paid great. Like, that's on you, man. Like, you fumbled the bag. You fumbled the bag. Like, there's nothing, like, we see this in sports all the time. Like, look at all the great sports and any sports. Look at the great players that have fumbled the bag because they felt or entitled to who they think they were within that organization. And in reality, that organization was like, fuck that. I'm running a business. It doesn't matter how great you are. I have to run the business, and this is what the business needs. And these entitled, players sometimes just, again, get contract gets thrown out, whatever it is. And so I think, again, it just goes back to the situation. Like, so I don't know if it's affecting it negatively. I think it's just, again, being smart about who you want to work with. And hopefully there's more organizations working with content creators to, like, help them, guide them in, like, a business sense of it, right? Like, I know that there are some of them out there. I haven't really done a lot of DD on that because, like, I don't think we're there yet. But, like, eventually we'll get there to, like, having content creators get paid 100K, 200K, 240, whatever it is. Eventually it'll happen, but right now we're still early.
Well, it's going to be really I mean, creators are getting more empowered, especially in Web3. Like, I like to point at metalcore as like a really interesting example of that, because I can go and buy a bunch of characters and buy all of the Larissa Laserborns, which is the lady with the pink mohawk, and I can make a whole army of pink mohawked people and build a fandom and build all this thing. And then I have a lot of power in that community, that where if I decide like, oh, we're done with metalcore, my fans are coming with me and leaving, and like that directly impacts their economy, their everything. So it's like it's a
Mhm.
whole new world
Don't let
for
Fresco
content.
hear that.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on, Fresco.
Hey, Doug,
Uh,
I just got a tweet. I think you just got cut from the Metalcore content creator program.
Rip.
oh, that's too bad. They have no choice. That it's welcome to Web3. It's the other thing too, right? Like, even with negative people that they don't want in their organization in a decentralized offering, like they can come in and own a bit of it and like impact it. So like, it's just the beginning, I think, when we see like things like this with Jake, and it's about to get stickier and less cut and dry, and like, yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be a whole new band, like type of drama or whatever, because creators are going to have much more financial impact within a game's ecosystem going forward.
But with that said, still, I think again we're just early, right? Like, I mean, like we don't have
Yep.
enough. Like, this is a one-off situation, really. I mean, like I probably could name 5 Web3 content creators that are making stupid money, right? Like, and not to say that's stupid money, because I mean, 240K really in today's America, you probably could buy a cheeseburger and drinks at McDonald's, and that's about it. But anyways, that's a whole different other topic. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is there's probably less than 5 content creators making some significant cash on a daily on a payroll like that. And
Mhm.
so again, it's just still early till we get so that we can say that. But it's just at the end of the day, man, it just speaks to character, speaks to business. It speaks to so many things of like working with content creators. Like you want to do your DD on certain things. At the end of the day, man, like I feel sorry for the kid. Like if he didn't know this part of business, because like sure, ignorance and all that stuff could play into a role, but it's like anything, man. Uh, Especially being a public image, you should know how to conduct yourself.
Totally agree. I feel like people in the space who are like actually very active and authentic and in touch with what is, going on and like what good business etiquette is are the people that are showing up every day, and you organically kind of get to know them. Like when you think about the Jonas and the Brysons of the space, like for example, Jonah is somebody who's like very active on Twitter spaces as well. And all the time, where you start tuning in and you kind of get to know her, like you get to know a person as these people show up every day. And same with us, like the Jinkies and the Dubs and the Jorges of like the world. Like we are exposing ourselves to an extent where I think your kind of like vibe and character and what you stand for and what your takes are, just it's inevitable for that to become like evident. And so I think, as Jorge was saying, like I totally agree. Like your social media and really your personal brand in this space is like your resume. I think like people, I don't really think like a lot of people have, like, yes, you have a traditional Web3 resume as you like build your career and have different positions and stuff in the space, but it's really about like your personal brand and, like Jorge said, like meeting people in person and whatnot. So I don't, and as Dub was saying, like, yeah, content creators are market makers. So I don't think, hopefully, what has happened is not going to hurt other content creators. It's just going to be like more of a cautionary tale and just for like a lesson to kind of learn from, and just like mistakes to be avoided. I mean, naivete and ignorance and like could have, I don't know his age, so that like age could have played a part in it too. We all make mistakes, like we all fuck up. But yeah, like when you have a public platform, you have of any kind, like you have a personal sense of responsibility to be very careful with like what you do and say. And that's why like even these Web3 companies that come in the space and they like mess up what they're doing, like, and they don't involve Web3 native people, it hurts the space overall. And they do have like a sense of responsibility because they are like advocating for Web3 and they don't do it right. And then it's just like a ripple effect. So yeah.
I'm
And
with.
one of the And one of the seven deadly sins is greed, and greed equals money. And sometimes when you're making a lot of money, yeah, that shit gets to you.
And see, that's my problem is I'm going to sit here and admit it. I have no business sense. If I did, I'd probably be making more money because right now, 99% of the content I do is completely free. I don't know what it is. I don't know how people are getting these deals and contracts. Probably just because they have a larger audience, which is fine. I get it. But I don't know. The way I look at it is I think Jorge kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit there. Due diligence from these companies. You know, I had a pinned tweet for the longest time that said I'm not interested in sports games, card games, blah blah blah. And those same companies were still hitting me up in the DMs. Hey, we want to work with you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro, I don't like these games. I'm not going to like your game. If I pitch it to my audience, they're not going to like it either because my audience obviously has never watched me for these games. So why are these companies just reaching out to any creator? Is it just sheer desperation? Are content creators that like lacking in this space that they will hire anybody regardless of background and history?
Well, I mean, I think that it goes again to now on the opposite side of the game developers. Oh man, we got to hire a business development officer. Cool. By the way, that guy in the Discord is very active and knows a lot about us. Let's hire that guy. Yeah. No business development experience, none at all. But he's a very active guy in the Discord, and now all of a sudden we give him a business development role. It's happened so many times in Web3. It's like the most.
I mean, that's a good thing too, though. It's a double-edged sword. It's good to hire people from within the
game. It is, but make sure you check what their experience is. Like, have they done business development in the past? Because business development in Web3 is like, it's like a small little circle. It's not much. I mean, like
all partnerships, and relationships, really, like.
Yeah, like.
So what you're saying is I need to find a business dev position, and I'll finally be able to find a job in Web3.
Hey now. Anybody's hiring, please let us know.
That's where I started, Jink. So yeah, it is kind of there, and I mean, it's a sign of it's a market. It's the factor of the market being small, and that the consumers are getting directly hired because there's not enough of an employee base to pull from in the beginning, you know, and it's a shame because it's like the same people are playing the same games with different games and getting them to do these like stupid whitelist giveaways and Twitter things, and like it's really it's pretty dumb, but it is when there's nowhere to go, you know. So that's what they do.
The real ones have high standards, though. Like I'm pretty like those companies that are just like reaching out to everyone. I'm pretty sure it's because like the Brysons and the Jonas, like the Jinkies, are saying no, right? And they're trying to reach out to everyone because the real ones, the OGs, like have high standards and are not going to like shill anything because it could compromise their personal brand. And it's really important that what you're aligning yourself with, like you're actually passionate about, like you actually believe it has product market fit, like whatever it may be. So, and sometimes people have to like, it's like baptism by fire. Maybe sometimes people have to shill and align themselves with a brand that completely messes up and maybe they didn't do enough due diligence or whatever. And then they like learn, you know, but I feel like we've got high standards. So the ones that have been here for a while have gone through enough experiences to know like kind of what, you know, what's right, what's wrong.
There was also like tweets going around of like spreadsheets of like who's who in content creation in Web3 like 3 months ago. And a couple of people bookmarked it and still go back to it thinking it's relevant, you know, and it's at the end of the day, we're stuck in this little freaking like micro thing, and people are going back 8 months from now and looking at old content and being like, oh, well, this is relevant. let me run with this strategy, you know, and like, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I do kind of have a hard stop right now. Does anybody have a final thoughts that they want to throw out there before we wrap things up?
Make sure you share the damn space. Follow RENFT. They got the fucking rental system down on lock. So, make sure you give our sponsors a like, right? Like, is this the part we're supposed to say? Like, give the sponsor a like, a comment, a share, whatever it is that the content creators say. Yeah, Dub is here and
right. Yeah, go download Undead Blocks and give it a try and run a demo or two. You might enjoy it.
Well, thanks for pointing that out, Jorge, because now I think I'm going to rewrite my intro a little bit so we can start shilling a little bit at the beginning instead of the end, because I have the like and follow stuff at the end, but I'm like, you know what? We are on Twitter. People could retweet.
Yeah, this is the part where you gotta put the RENFT commercial. Like maybe we gotta get like the
That's a good point. Hang on. So for those that aren't aware, the Block Sauce now has its own Twitter. It is separate from ENFT Labs. We are working on expanding the brand out. So if you guys are not following, make sure you drop a follow on Block Sauce. It's at Block Sauce, and the E is a 3.
And follow all of our speakers.
Well, you can follow them. You know, I'm here for games and sometimes some technology talk.
All right, I'll tune in next week, same time, same show, maybe the same people, maybe not. Who knows? But
Damn, I'm getting kicked.
Spicy every week.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Life happens. Look, guys, we try to keep the panel as consistent as possible, but we also understand everybody's got stuff to do. It's cool. But that's going to be a wrap for us, folks. This was another great episode of the Block Sauce, but we are now coming to a close. Before we say farewell, make sure you guys drop a follow for all of our guests. Again, huge thank you for taking the time out of your week to come join us and speak with us and give a little bit of insight into other opinions than my own, because if it was just me, I'm pretty sure I'd have some spicy takes that would go uncontested.
Thank you for being a great host. You do a great job of hosting us every week. We appreciate you.
And of
Yes,
course,
sir.
we couldn't
Very
have done
well
it without the audience. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters. I've been talking with people over there in the YouTube chat, so appreciate you guys as well. If you have any suggestions for future topics, make sure you drop a DM or a comment. Let us know what you want us to talk about. You know, we're just trying to bring you the best conversations we can every week. And remember, the stuff. I'm having a tongue tie today. I think I've had too much caffeine. But remember, the sauce never stops flowing. Stay connected with us on social media. Again, that is ReNFT and Block Sauce. Block Sauce with a 3 at the end. And
I think you got it all.
yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you, sauce enthusiasts. Join us next time for another thrilling episode of the Block Sauce, where we keep the gaming flame alive and the discussion sizzling every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Stay saucy and keep the gaming exciting in the realm of Web3. Have a good one and see you next time. Goodbye.
Cheers.
All right, I
Jake.
gotta go. Bye-bye.